XJ Talk Show.
It's on.
Now.
Gotta push the button. Welcome to xjtalk.com, the show. Hi guys, my name is Tony Motoroy on xjtalk.com, and we have a special show tonight. It's special because of the recent events in New Zealand this past week. Yesterday. We had an interview with Wayne Lang, Cantab 27, moderator extraordinaire on xjtalk.com, and we recorded that about a little over a week ago. And of course, the big earthquake that happened here recently has caused a lot of issues in New Zealand, as you've been aware of if you've been watching the news. So we'll be playing that interview. Wayne may be in the chat room. It just really depends. He's fortunate to have electricity and internet access. So we'll get started here in just a second. This segment brought to you by DetourSUSA.com. 10 years of innovating, not imitating XJ products. Check out www.detoursusa.com. And Detours wants to remind everyone to practice safe sex. No pig borking till you wrap that rascal.
xjtalk.com.
xjtalk.com.
It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Do you have questions or comments that you would like played on the air? We've set up voicemail just for that purpose. All you have to do is call 530-675-4102. Just leave your name, your location, and your question or comment. Chances are good it'll get played on the air. That number again is 530-675-4102. We look forward to hearing from you today. Well, let's see. We've got Dalton 4x4. Fireman Ray -1. I think Fireman Ray is the good one. Fireman Ray -1 is the evil twin. Punisher 72. He told me what this was. Are you get done? I can't remember. I'm sorry. Rugged One. There we go. Thank you. Rugged One and Weldman. Big Jim was here. I wonder where he went. Wonder if he ran out of vodka. He had to make a quick run to the store. So, guys, thanks for showing up. As you may have read, whether it be on the xjtalk.com site, or if you follow XJ Talk on Facebook or Twitter, made the announcements there as well. But we recorded an interview. Wayne and I recorded an interview about a little over a week ago, but certainly before the this 6.3 earthquake that they had, and we talked about what's it like to have a Jeep in New Zealand. What do you do? And we also talked a little bit about the quake that they had back in September. I think we even discussed some predictions about another big quake coming, having to do with the gentleman that predicts quakes by where the moon position is, high tides, low tides, etc., etc. And I think I even poo-pooed it in the interview, but you'll get to hear that. But before we begin, I would like to play a couple of voicemails that several of our XJ Talk members, xjtalk.com members, were kind enough to call in and leave. So let's get started here with Big Jim. It's clean, so don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, this is Big Jim 350. Just wanted to tell Wayne that we're all praying for him over here and hoping everything goes well. And just letting you, Wayne, know that if you need anything, just know, and we'll be happy to help you as much as we can. Talk to you later, buddy.
Thanks, Jim. I know that you guys talk to Wayne a lot, and we have been very fortunate because Wayne didn't lose his internet access. He still has a house. There's thousands of people that are homeless in the Christchurch area because their homes collapsed. And Wayne is one of the lucky ones, and he actually has a full house right now of 10 people. And he didn't name them, but I'm sure that he is trying to help out certainly his mother-in-law and friends and neighbors that perhaps don't have someplace to live. When I spoke with him the other day, it was raining really hard out, and we kind of take our houses for granted, and when you don't have one, what do? I mean, it can be very depressing because even if you get something built back up, how do you know how long it's going to be there before it gets shaken apart again? It's very, even though Wayne and his family are uninjured and safe, at least for the time being, because you don't know what's going to happen when there's earthquakes. There's still that frustration. There's still that I don't know. On the Gulf Coast, we kind of have it lucky because we get warnings of when the hurricane is coming and when it's going to be here. You can set your watch to it almost, and you have an idea how long it's going to last, and then it's going to be over. And it's probably going to be several years before you have to go through that again. But people that are in quake-prone areas, and actually New Zealand, from what Wayne was telling me, is not a quake-prone area. But if you're in a quake-prone area, there's no warning. I mean, there may be some tremors leading up to the big quake, and then certainly tremors afterwards. But it's not like a weather event. It's not even like a fire, a raging trees. Forest fire that's coming barreling towards your house, or even a lava spill. Hang on, we got Wayne coming in. Are you there, Wayne? Wayne just called in on Skype, and I'm just seeing if I can get a hold of him here. Hang on a second, Wayne. Let me just make some adjustments here and make sure I have this thing set up properly. I had made some changes to it. Yep, it looks like it should be fine. You able to hear me, Wayne?
Hi, Tony.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, it was a little misconfiguration on my side. I had recently moved the equipment and wasn't able to. I didn't test it. Didn't anticipate a Skype call tonight, especially with all that was going on over there with you.
I just quickly thought, well, how the kids, everyone's been looked after. Like you said, it's kind of good to unwind for a bit. So yeah, I'm going to chat to you, take the mind off things.
Well, you sound good. You sound a lot better than what I thought you would with all the lack of sleep, and I'm sure the worry that you've been going through with wondering what's coming up next.
I've caught up with my brother today and delivered him some water. And I know all the rest of my family's safe. I've got one sister who's actually out of Christchurch. My Bridget's, who a few of the boys met last night on chat, she's got all her family here, immediate family here. We know everyone we know and love is safe, so we're pretty happy. We're pretty sad about other stuff, but we're pretty happy about that.
Well, you're certainly very fortunate compared to a lot of the people there in Christchurch, and that's a lot to be thankful for. I know it's a hard thing to do right now, but your family's safe, irregardless of the concern that you may have about what's coming. It may be over. I don't know. I know that's not what they're predicting, but at least you made it through, and everybody's good.
Yeah, we got a lot to be thankful. We got a roof, roof over our head. We're warm. We got food. We got water. We got power. There's thousands and thousands who haven't.
Well, that's amazing. I didn't realize that you had all the basic necessities.
Yeah, we're really lucky out here. But you go, I think 5 minutes up the road and then they start running out of power and you see damage.
Well, you certainly picked a good place to live. I bet you had no idea that anything like this was going to come about. Now, I know that we've talked about this before, but I just want to, since I have you here, I thought I would just ask again since we're live. This is not normal for New Zealand to have quakes like this.
No, I haven't felt. I'd be lucky if I felt like 5 or 6 wee ones in my small entire life. I'm like 45, lived here the majority of my life, and we're just wasn't expected. It's not renowned for earthquakes, Christchurch or New Zealand is. We do get them, but little like 2s and 1s. Every country gets little ones, I think.
Sure. I think I've been told we've had them here in Texas. I've never felt one, but
this one's destroyed Christchurch, mate. She's a country. The towns they're talking about just bulldozing the whole lot. The CDB area, the central district. They got buildings just waiting to fall over. But we got a lot of international help here now. You guys are here now. Australia, Japan, Italy. There's numerous countries are flying over and helping, looking for people. So that's really incredible. That's
great, and I'm always very proud of the United States whenever we get involved in things like this, and that's one of the countries that is always involved in the help and the cleanup around the world. And
it's still a rescue operation in town. That's what they're concentrating on. People are surviving with water tanks in the suburbs, and like we're housing people. A lot of that's happening. It's still rescue recovery in town at the moment. They're looking for like people trapped.
Are they having any luck finding people?
They found another one today. They pulled 120 out. They've confirmed 76 dead. There's about 300 missing, I think.
Wow, 120. I like that figure. That's wonderful.
Any more from now would be a miracle. But like, I don't know if you've ever Googled Christchurch, where we got they're called the Port Hills, in a park called Sumner. They've found some people over there been killed by rocks. There's been rock falls as well, so they're discovering bad bits all the time, if you get what I mean.
Right. Well, I certainly hope that they're able to. I know it doesn't sound like it's going to be very good news for the 300 that are missing, but I'm hoping that against hope that will be. I'll be wrong in my assumption there.
There's always a miracle out of if they just pull one person out in a couple of 3 days. That's always a miracle in these kind of disasters. There always seems to be something like that, and that kind of lifts people's spirits. We're going to lose a lot, but if you get what I mean, that one wee miracle lifts a lot of spirits.
Exactly. Well, it gives everybody hope, and I think that the human condition, the survival instinct, it means a lot. And if that one person could do it, maybe there's more.
Exactly.
Rainey Argonard asked if you still have water.
Yeah, it's 60% has power now. They're really good doing the infrastructure. This is in the outer suburbs. 80% is still without water. Ourselves at home here, we've got water and electricity.
So how are you doing on food?
We travelled to another little town about 40 minutes away and got some food. Took my partner Bridget about 3 or 4 hours. They're actually sitting at a service station waiting to get petrol. I got up really early this morning and filled the Jeep up. I'm totally full in the Jeep. We've got to be somewhere I can go. We've got another car sorted out for my brother-in-law so they can be mobile tomorrow. And we just wait to get back, and we'll go back later on tonight and join another queue and get petrol on that one.
Yeah, it's not fun. The only thing I have to compare it to is when we had Hurricane Ike and the hurricane before that we were threatened with. It was not pleasant, and that was only the threat of a disaster. That wasn't an actual disaster. So be very, very safe. People will do crazy things when they get concerned for their livelihood. I mean, not the livelihood, their lives.
Yeah. It was the day of the earthquake was a mission. I went in and got my mother-in-law out, and I was driving through like 2 foot of water, and the roads had disappeared. Like I've seen a photo of that car disappeared on the road. You couldn't see those holes; they were just like suck holes. So that was quite challenging driving to see where the road was. I was on the footpath half the time, chewing up mud. I stopped and picked up an elderly couple who was struggling in water and dropped them a couple of miles down the road to where it was dry. Another lady was sitting in the middle of the road in a little car, just hysterical crying. we carried her out, and someone drove her car and carried on. Finally got my mother-in-law out. 20-minute drive took on 2.5 hours. Then it was dark and it was raining, so the trip back was quite exciting.
And you were doing all this in the Jeep, right?
Yep. Love the Jeep.
This is what I'm telling you, man. I mean, I went through this stuff with the hurricane, the threat of the hurricane, I should say, and I was sitting here with a stock 4-wheel drive, and I said, no way, I am not going to have a 4-wheel drive that's not ready to take me and my family out of harm's way. And obviously this couldn't get you out of harm's way, but this is getting you in and around, and it's certainly allowing you to navigate through this disaster area and help people at the same time.
I was helping. I was getting looks of people going, "Oh, yeah, wish we could do that," kind of thing. I actually had some people who started following me, some officials in city care car, and they were following me real slowly, and I thought they're going to get stuck. They turned around when I went over a bridge, and there was, I'd say, a foot drop off where the bridge to the road meets. I just plowed over that in my Jeep. They turned around at that stage and headed back. I thought that was quite funny.
I bet you're very happy that you have that 12,000-pound winch on your rig now.
Yeah, I haven't had to pull anything out. They were still wanting us to help, but they're still doing this stuff in town. Once they give us the okay, and there's meeting points, me and the guy I work with, we're just going to fill our work utes up, and we're just going to head to where we've been told and start digging this. There's a lot of liquid. There's actually liquidation where the water and sand comes up, and it's blocked roads and people's footpaths, and it gets contaminated and turns to dust, and people get sick. That's what we've got to get rid of, so that's what we'll be concentrating on.
But still, having the winch, I'm sure, is a great feeling, since you know that if you get yourself into a situation, you're probably going to be able to get yourself out.
Well, I did turn down a side road, and I thought, this could be tricky. This was heading back at night to pick up the brother-in-law. I must have made 2 trips on the day of the earthquake, and I thought it'd be a quicker way to get there, and it wasn't. There was cars just stuck in mud and blown out like way past their tyres, and that's what I thought, well, if I get stuck, I can always winch to a lamppost, pull up and carry on further, if you get what I mean. So, yeah, that was peace of mind.
Yeah, and this is exactly the reason why obviously I've started into a hobby lifting my Jeep. Yeah. but this is exactly the reason why I'm doing the things to my Jeep, is because I don't want to be in a disaster and not be ready. I do not want to be that close to the road and get myself in a situation that I can't get myself out of.
Well, some of the streets I went down, I wouldn't have got down in an ordinary car. It was crazy what I was doing. Just to get to when I got to my mother-in-law's place, there wasn't one like the big units, dressers and drawers, and they'd all fallen. I was lifting them up looking for it because we hadn't been in touch with her. I found her after about 5 minutes, 2 houses down the road. They must have heard me banging and yelling. But I sent photos roughly of that through, but there wasn't pictures of walls, the big china cabinets, where you have all your plates and stuff, and they were just buried through walls, TVs down. That was quite freaky when I first walked into that room. We found it. We're all good. I
don't doubt it. So, your wife was in a high-rise building whenever the quake hit, wasn't she?
Yes, she had a bad time of it. That was probably. I was actually home with Jordan, so I was really lucky. That's our boy. We just stood in the middle of the road hugging each other. It was really, really frightening, this one. Violent. Man, it was violent. She was in town. Obviously, I wanted to be in there and see if I could find her, but common sense said stay here. And about 2 hours later, I think we got a text from a strange number, and as soon as I got that text, I knew she was all right. What they did is they put her into, we got a lot of parks in our town, like open spaces, put everyone in groups. You live in that part, north, south, east, west, whatever, and then her car and everything's still in town, and they just shuttled everyone out, group by group by group. But the building was shaking, and plaster and stuff was hitting, falling down when they were running down the stairways and stuff. And then when she got outside, by the time she had been able to get away, she had seen some really horrible sights, like some badly hurt people and whatnot. She came home, she was pretty shook up, hey. I went over to my brother's this morning. He lives out by the ocean, and we had a wee aftershock, and she just looked at me and says, can we please go home? So she's pretty shook up as the partner, the wife.
Yeah,
she'll be right. She's pretty tough.
I just can't imagine. Everything's normal, and then the ground just starts shaking. There's nothing you can do. Just wait for it to stop.
I was sitting at on the computer about to log into this, I think, to the site, and it just went bang. This was just 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then Tuesday afternoon, and we had that big one September, and we thought, It's all good out of the blue. And this one's flattened us.
Well, I'm hoping this one isn't as. I'm hoping this is the worst it is. I'm hoping there's not going to be anything worse than this. I'm hoping this has been the build up with all these minor quakes that you've been having since September. I hope this is it.
This one was so shallow and it was close to the city. That's why it's caused more damage. I know you work in miles, but it was only 5 kilometres deep.
Yeah,
from the surface. That's what's done all the damage.
Yeah, I think that's only like 3.5 miles or something in real measurements.
All those links I've put up on that post, that Christchurch Earthquake post, if you keep hitting those, they get updated too. If you don't hear from me for a few days, or if I'm doing what I'm doing, if you're curious, they actually update, or they will go to the homepage from those links will update. I'll put some new photos up, and you kind of see some what it's done to the city centre and the outer suburbs. I'm waiting for a video. They've had choppers flying over, and that shows you how much water and mud's in the streets and whatnot. Yeah, so I'll flick that up when I find it.
I was going to ask you about this. I did watch looked at the video or was reading something on one of the links that you had posted on XJ Talk, and a large part of the glacier came off and fell into the water. Is that what's causing the flooding, or?
No, that's miles away. That's hundreds or a couple of hundred miles away. That's just a freaking. That's an incredible looking thing, though. It's actually quite a beautiful photo of that thing floating in the lake. Mm-hmm. No, what it is it's liquidation. It's called. It just gets sand and it just gets forced out of the earth and water. Plus, you burst water pipes and all that. And we're a low-lying city anyway. We're built on swamp in the 1800 whatever we were built, and that causes a lot of problems, I think. It drains after a few days, but it's just bizarre. There's just big piles of sand everywhere and mud.
Right.
And then it clogs everything up. So, yeah, it's quite bizarre stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking Liquefaction was the...
I don't have trouble saying that word, Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, Liquefaction. I have problems saying a lot of words. I think that...
I'm very careful not to say a certain word Jim's thinking to say, because I'm pretty much on nerves, on edge, but I'm being real careful here.
I think Jim's probably already said it several times while we were saying it. You're mispronouncing that.
Hey, while we're on that subject, thanks, guys, for all the messages and everything you're sending, and thanks to, I think it was Scott, Jim, and not sure you might have been Brian or the other guys who were chatting to my partner, Bridget. She felt really good after that last night, and that really helped, and I just appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful to hear. I'm glad that we can help. I mean, we're just a bunch of Jeepers playing around, some of us probably too old to be doing this stuff, playing around with Jeeps, and in the midst of all this, we're in the middle of a catastrophe in New Zealand, and we're actually able to help out, if not directly, indirectly. It just took her mind off everything for half hour. She got off and it was like she was smiling, hadn't seen that for a couple of days. And that was really cool, guys. I really appreciate that.
Dalton. Well, Dalton, you're not old. Dalton says old, us never.
old hardcore. How you doing, fella?
Let's see. Rainey Argonard says, is she going to join XJ Talk?
We got one girl on there, Punk. That's enough.
Yeah, there was some discussion in the chat about her joining XJ Talk, and then I think that was, Wayne's going to get in trouble, and all Wayne's fun will be gone then.
Well, the XJ Talk, that's my happy place. That's where I hide. That'd be my last domain taken over. I can't have that. That's
exactly what I was thinking. It's we all know how to act, but sometimes we like to act like we were born. Speaking of domains and whatnot, Big Jim posted the link to a local TV station where you had done a phone interview with Sherman Chow, and the lady with the dinner name. Exactly, the buffet, and. I thought it was pretty cool. I was watching the segment, and of course, you were in just a very small part of it at the end. But they didn't mention the xjtalk.com site by name, but they did show your post that you had put on there, and briefly the XJ Talk logo was shown. So it only required a disaster of epic proportions to get some about half a second of airtime, television airtime for XJ Talk, and I just wanted to thank you.
I was just wondering where Jim and Rainey, who organised that, where you're going to pay to send the funds to, what do you call it?
Right.
Where do we send the bill, Tony?
So in the midst of all this, the important thing was that xjtalk.com got TV time.
I did see the link, and I had that. I think it's a photo of that squash bus almost. I think you can just see the yellow, the big xj.com. She did mention it by name, didn't she?
I think she said a Houston-based website, and and they actually said that you were a moderator on the website, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, she rang out of the blue, and it was like 8:30 in the morning. I hadn't slept, and I honestly thought to myself, "Who the was having me on here?" Kind of thing, because it's main disaster. And I looked at the phone number, and then she rang back on the landline, and there's about 1,000 phone numbers, and numbers, and when you could see the number ringing. Mm-hmm. And I said, the line will probably cut out. I'm pretty busy, but just a few quick things I answered. It was kind of cool, actually. How was she? Was she nice? She was really, really nice.
She seems to be here. She's been on Channel 11, the local CBS affiliate here in Houston for many, many years.
I don't think she could understand me half the time.
None of us can, Wayne. You speak proper English.
I think she was hitting on me, Bear. What do you reckon about that, mate?
Did you hear that, Bear? She was hitting on him. Just reading the chat room here.
I can't see that. I'm just staying on Skype so I don't fall off.
No, I understand. I was just reading through here so I didn't have some, so people wouldn't be wondering why there was silence. Do any of you guys have any questions for Wayne while we have him here live? Barra says, Dad getting hit on by Asian women.
Funny if she was a bit short of you.
Rainey would like to know if you're okay.
Yeah, we're okay. Hey, look, it's just a waiting game now, Rainey. We feel helpless, but it's just a waiting game now. We just wait till the authorities tell us what to do. We'll be sensible. We'll stay off the roads unless we have to, which we've been asked to do. And we'll just. I've got my mobile. One of my family texts me. I'll be away. They've all got my numbers. They know. I've got friends. Same thing. If they need a hand, they'll know I'll be there straight away. And I'm just sitting around waiting, kind of thing,
Paul in Florida, Punisher 72 says, "Yeah, come move to the U.S."
Yeah, California's quiet, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think I would disown you if you moved to California.
That shakes just as bad.
Exactly, but it would be for more than one reason.
We're gonna sit down in a week or 2 weeks in time and wait till we get our mother-in-law and everything back into their house up and running the power. And I think we will take off for a couple of weeks or something. If it starts shaking again, I'll get my family out though. They're gone.
Fireman Ray here in Livingston, Texas says, "Hang in there, Wayne."
Cheers, Ray. Appreciate it, mate.
Actually, I was just in the middle of playing some of these messages, and now that you're here, you can listen to them live. Let me let you hear this one from 4x4 Dalton Bear.
Hey, this is 4x4 Dalton from Virginia. Just calling to tell Wayne I'm glad he's all right. And glad his family's okay. Hope everything works out for him. Good luck, y'all.
And I got another one here from Mark, Payless 4x4.
Hey, Wayne, this is Mark, Payless 4-wheel drive here in Chico, Northern California. Just wanted to say I'm glad to hear you guys are okay. If there's anything we can do for you, give us a holler. I'd be happy to help any way we can. Other than that, stay strong, and we'll be praying for you. Take care now. Bye.
That all means a lot, these kind of messages means a lot. I did, Warren, who's on the site, CJ4, he's building their Mirinda Jeep thing. He pops in there and again. He's got his goal. I got a text from him yesterday. My mate, where that red XJ is, his workshop got destroyed. It's flat, apparently, but they got out alive, so that's the main thing.
That's too bad. I hate to hear that. But yeah, I mean, if you're alive, you can continue and do something hopefully better.
Yeah, you can start again. But yeah, this Warren's good as gold. I think Steve and Warren talk a fair bit because about the Mighty Might and his certain Jeep. So if you're listening, Steve, Warren's good as gold, mate.
Excellent. I'll make sure I get that up on the site as well. We have one more message here from Kurt Weldman from xjtalk.com.
This is Kurt Weldman. Just wanted to call Wayne and Bridget that I hope things get better, and I'm sure the whole group here would agree with me, and we all send you love and hope everything turns out good for you.
And I think this is the one that was playing whenever you called. This one's from Big Jim 350. It is clean.
Yeah, it says Big Jim 350. Just wanted to tell Wayne that we're all praying for him over here and hoping everything goes well. And just letting you, Wayne, know that if you need anything, just know, and we'll be happy to help you as much as we can. Talk to you later, buddy.
That was a last-minute thought that we had, and that was all that we were able to get in before showtime. But I know that there's been lots of people reading your post, and very happy that you were able to communicate with us so far away and through so much devastation. It's been a blessing for us because I know several of us were very concerned when the 7.1 hit, and we were very happy that we were able to continue to communicate with you. And
that first one, that's on September, that feels like years ago now after this one, just what I've seen and what's happened. That first one just seemed like a one of those mild aftershocks we get. It's just so bizarre. So, yeah, bizarre is the word, I think.
Well, certainly you've experienced something that few people will experience in their lifetime, and I'm sure once is enough.
Yeah, well, this is we're a national disaster zone at the moment. The Army's in, they happen to have a couple of Navy boats in the port at the moment, so they've opened their boats up because 60% of the buildings in the port area got destroyed. So we're lucky in some places there was kind of things were up, but some of these people who got killed were builders and the likes, were repairing the damage from the first one, which is, it's just crazy if you think about it.
That's horrible. So they were actually involved in repairing the damaged buildings from the initial the 7.1, and they were killed while they were doing the repairs during the 6.3.
Yep, the worst stories coming out. There's like the guys who were walking down the road after it happened, and they seen a push bike and some rubble, and they thought, well, chances are it won't. And they did dig, and they did find, a deceased person, and that's just yuck. If you ask me, they had to look. If you get what I mean. Yeah. To see if the person was alive or whatever.
Right.
But there's, some. It happens in every disaster. We'll be happy. There'll be light at the end of the tunnel. You just got to be positive.
Yeah, and there's so many more people that are alive than those that have passed away. I know that it's very concerning because you see those people and you think that could have been me, but the point is it wasn't you. And chances,
we'll look after who's alive now.
Right, and chances are very good that it won't be you or your family, because it's. If you look at it from a percentage standpoint, very, very few people were killed in the total population. So, all in all, it's still very lucky. I know it's hard to look at it that way, especially if it's a loved one or a friend. I was laughing a few minutes ago because Fireman Ray says on the chat room, "Tell Wayne I posted a picture of the 50-piece Nugget meal for him."
Finally! Just
before all this happened.
I have to have a look at that because that blew me away. Jeez, 50. Well, how does one of those little mustic ones? Packs last for that.
I think it was the night before Super Bowl. So like on a Friday night, my wife went and got a 50-piece McNugget for us, and that was for the five of us.
Yeah, I like them things.
I remember one time we went, and it was back, and I like it better whenever you got the bucket. I don't know if you guys have bucket of chicken over there like they used to sell.
Yeah, the Colonel's got that.
Yeah, exactly. But they used to sell it in a big bucket like that, and I really liked that. I mean, just, the fat redneck in me just likes the idea of a bucket of nuggets.
Sounds good too.
Yeah, a bucket of nuggets. And I told I think my stepson was the one that actually went to get it, and I said, Micah, whenever you go, tell him that you want 25 or no, maybe it was more than that, because I think I told him 100 of the sweet and sour sauce, because no, it wasn't 100. I guess it was like 20 or 30 of them. Because it's 50 nuggets, and you don't want to just eat a nugget. You want some stuff on it. So
I like all that mustard stuff, that mustard sauce, man.
That's good too. But anyway, he came back with literally 100 of those, a mixture of the buffalo, the sweet and sour. It was the sauces. There was more sauces than there were, physical size, volume was more sauce than there was nuggets. It was great.
Oh, that's good.
They don't do that anymore. I think that somebody found out that happened, and they don't do it. You're lucky if you get very many at all now. Just reading the chat room here. Fat redneck, who's calling me? That was Big Jim 350. Jim, you're not fat. You're just big boned.
He's just big boned. He's chunky.
There's a waiting to get out.
Yeah, it's all good.
Dalton 4x4 says, "LOL, Jim. I was thinking the same thing."
Brothers, eh?
Just looking here, we've got. Let's see if anybody's joined. No, same group. Well, Wayne, I am really tickled that you were able to call into the show. I would much rather talk to you live than listen to the interview, although it is a good interview.
This is good because, like I said, it's taken my mind off things for 15, 20 minutes, mate. You guys always get on here and get a laugh, even though it gets it out of me. My humour comes out when I'm typing away, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you sound like
thank you again for that.
Yeah, you sound like your old self. I remember when I had my wife sitting here watching that interview the brief interview you did with Sherman Chow. I said, that doesn't sound like Wayne. His voice isn't usually that deep, and that doesn't go that slow. You're actually able to understand what he's saying. He's usually talking faster and higher pitch. So I could tell you were stressed and down. We'll get some sleep later, and I ate my first meal last night too, so that was pretty good. So have you guys been having a lot of aftershocks? Yeah, it's just like September, mate, Tony. You hear them, you rumble, you brace. Some you don't feel, some you feel, some you think, oh, here we go. We had a good couple during the night where I was awake anyway. I got up and checked, and they'd woken everyone up. So, just say, it's all cool, we're all cool, and everyone just falls back to sleep, and you just go back to do what you're doing. Well, I don't want to ask you too personal a question. I think that we've talked about this in chat or something, maybe before the interview last time. But let's say that you're a man in New Zealand, and you're with your wife or your girlfriend. Would a person try to use a trimmer to make the lovemaking a little more like you made the earth move for me? I don't need that, mate. I already got the t-shirt, Tony. Trust me, mate. The thing is, it's not New Zealand. It's just Christchurch. They're feeling it in other suburbs, but it's my little town. The ones getting smashed. It's like New Zealand. The rest of New Zealand is as good as gold. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. I mean, quite often when you see things on the news, especially, and of course, no offense, but New Zealand is a real small place, even compared to Texas. So we're tiny. Yeah, so I'm thinking, that it's affecting the entire island, and to understand it's just what is it, like a 40 mile radius around Christchurch? It's not bigger than you got your wee little suburbs, like where I am and whatnot. It's just if you look on that last link I put up, there's some photos. And through the photos, someone's taken a photo of the island again, what I call the Port Hills, and it's just after the earthquake, and there's just a cloud of dust over the wee city. If you find that picture, and that is so surreal, that picture is quite freaky. And the one of a lot of people who do travel, we're renowned for a certain site. Our big cathedral in town, that hits home to me when I see that, just a pile of rubble. That's been there since Christchurch was here, kind of thing. Yeah, I think they were saying on the news it was there for 130 years, or it's been there 130 years. Yeah, that's right. She did mention it. The dinner pack lady. I can't say her name. Sherman Chow. Chow. I'll just say Chow. Mm-hmm. She did mention the cathedral actually. No, that was very sad to see, because I'm almost sad that I was using Google Earth to view your city. I think that one of the conversations that we had on Skype was I just couldn't believe how beautiful the city is. There's so many architectural, I don't want to say wonders, but just very, very nice to see. And that church certainly was a centerpiece for the city. I think there's 22 people in there too, just quietly. That's what they said on the one of the updates not long ago, as in they'll be deceased. And the worst thing is most of those will be tourists. There's in the CTV certain building in town which they've given up on. They don't think anyone will be alive in there anymore. There's an international English class in there, and that will be full of Japanese people. I think they
that's why they've got the Japanese rescue people specialising on that one. So this has all touched the world in one way or another, it's fair to say.
Well, I think I mentioned it in on the site and in chat. I may have mentioned it to you. It really, I find it very personally disturbing that the news coverage of the quake that you had in September and all the thousands of aftershocks that you've had since then wasn't anything like what it's been since people died. It required people to die in that town before there was coverage.
I think we were chatting about that, Tony. You did. I remember you chatting. Yeah, and that's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, I understand ratings. I understand ratings, but it's important to somebody. It's certainly important to you guys, and it's been important to me. And I feel that with all your friends here on XJ Talk, that it's been important to them. And we would certainly like to have known more about it. And I don't know why. I don't watch some of the other, like MSNBC and CNN, but I do watch Fox News, and I don't know why Fox News wasn't covering that.
It's just can answer that. Well, we're only a small little country down here. Most of us think we're connected to Australia, and it's actually a fair. How many of you actually had heard of New Zealand or knew where New Zealand was before I joined the site? I might do a poll on that one day when I'm feeling better.
Yeah, that's probably true. Now, I've been an amateur radio operator since I was 16 years old, and I've actually spoke with people in New Zealand from a long time ago in Australia. So I kind of learned my world geography just simply by how far am I talking to. So that was always a lot of fun for me.
Bear used to talk to someone in New Zealand, Christchurch here as well. He kind of knew. He did say something to that me about that a while back. Him and his wife used to correspond with someone from Christchurch years ago. That's how he knows about those Tim Tams. Those biscuits were meant to be sending in, but yeah, okay, they'll be squashed now, Jimbo. Beer.
Now, Brian says the feed is pausing. Punisher says you froze. Rainey says, okay. So Rainey says it did lock up on anyone besides me. Yeah, me too. Looks like chat's still going, guys. Are you able to? Is the feed still going for you now, or is it back going? I should say. Nobody's typing anything, so maybe it has froze for them.
They might have froze up on them. I get that now and again on my one, and it's like usually when it gets to quite a funny point or a good point, and then it'll freeze, and by the time you get back there, you don't know what's going on, so you go listen to the recorded one.
Oh, yeah. Well, the good news is, guys, that it will be available. We're recording all this, so you will be able to watch it on the Ustream recording or YouTube, or listen to it via the podcast.
Tony, this is why we're at it. This is a good advertisement for Skype. I'm in New Zealand talking to you, and we're hearing each other really, really well. I think if they get a chance, download Skype, and we could correspond some more with the other members, if you get what I mean.
Oh, absolutely, guys. Basically, what Wayne is saying here is load Skype. Get on Skype so that you can call him and talk to him and give him something to do.
You could talk to Jim and Brian can talk, or we should actually get Shrek, or Shrek is it, or the other guys who live overseas. We could get talking to them guys. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, exactly. There's we're getting more and more international members, and I think that's great. Okay, they say I just typed in, is it working now, and I'm getting a yeah and a yep. So
one finger tied in from the rednecks. That's what it'll be.
Yes, Paul, I do see you, and stop doing that. Pull up your pants. This isn't chat roulette. Yeah, Wayne, if you really want to have something to do that will be just completely disgusting, get on chat roulette, because I think, 5 out of 10 of the people that you'll bring up on video chat are pleasuring themselves for your viewing enjoyment, and it's never a woman. If you haven't heard about chat roulette, I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand what the thrill there is.
Yeah. He's a moderator there, Rainey, Jimbo.
No, you have to be a young man to keep doing that for hours.
Bet your Jim's not banned from that one.
Yeah, Jim says he's too shy.
Too sober.
He gets enough liquid courage in him, he'll be okay. Although the equipment might not work. Rainey says, not me. And then he says bull, and then he put, looks like a pair uncensored.
We were lucky here too. We had rain for 2 days after the quake, but it's really, really nice and warm out at the moment. So that's going to be helping people.
Were y'all expecting rain, or do you think that was connected to the quake at all?
It's just really bizarre because the day before we were in the high 90, I think it was about 91 Fahrenheit. It was a really stinking hot day. Then it was just cold. And then we had the quake. Then we had 2 days of rain. Today's beautiful. Rain coming tomorrow. But we are in the funny season. It's like summer to autumn at the moment, or fall as you call it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the seasons are just changing now, like the leaves and that are changing colour. Well, you must be coming into spring, so we're opposites totally when it comes to that.
Right. Well, you're almost directly on the other side of the world from us.
I know, you should hear us shake. Do you not feel all that?
Well, you would think that. I would think all of New Zealand would have felt it. So, I don't understand how this stuff works. Oh, I was gonna ask you, how's the house?
House is all right again. It's they haven't really had a look at it. We got a few more cracks and stuff. This one, like I said, threw more stuff around. Like we lost all our TVs and stuff again, and it threw more stuff off walls. We've lost a lot of plates and crockery and stuff this time because it was that violent. It threw so much out of the off the walls and knocked things over. We're in the lounge. I grabbed my young fellows. We were getting out of the house. It was that violent, but we were banging into the walls trying to get out of the house. It was just crazy. And then we just, like I said, we got into the middle of the road because we got no power lines or anything at the end of our driveway. So we just stood there and just hung out there. It must have gone for about 30 seconds, I suppose. That's crazy. They're crazy. They're so scary, mate. They're just like, I know my heart's good, mate, because she was pounding and it didn't collapse on me. So that's a good thing, I suppose.
I just can't believe you had to go 2 hours not knowing if your wife was okay. That had to have been very difficult to stay there.
That was real scary, but the phone was beeping that many times, like other people finally getting hold of me and texting me. Then we were getting shakes as well, and I finally got the text from her, so that was really cool.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I would have been able to stay. I know it's exactly what you should do because you don't know what you're going to run into, and she may make it back to the house, and now you're gone. So
that's why I was talking to Bernard, the guy down the road here, and because we're checking in on each other, and I says, "Look, mate, I want to go into town." He says, "You're better off staying here." And I listened to him, and I'm glad I did because eventually, she came home.
Punisher 72, Paul in Florida says, "How's the TV on the floor?"
Yeah, it's still on the floor, but it goes. We didn't put it back up.
Yeah,
it's cracked. Casing's in crack, but it still goes.
Yeah, I would not put it back up. That's for sure.
We've already done it at my mother-in-law and her daughter's house. We've just turned all the power, gas, and fuel supply off. And anything that's I picked up all the broken stuff, the glass, and got all that out of the way. And whatever's on the ground, I've left on the ground. Whatever looks like it's going to fall, I've just placed on the ground, just in case we get more big ones.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, I'm sorry?
No, as I was just saying, it's just pretty crazy times.
And you, I believe you were telling me about your trip to your mother-in-law's house, that you had to use the Jeep to get there. And what was it? It took you like 2 hours on a 20-minute trip? Yeah,
it's well over 2, and probably a bit more on the way back, because on the way back it was dark and on dark, and like there's no lights, street lights, there's no electricity, so the XJs have got headlights at the best of times anyway. Well, there's a beep at the best of times. So I just went real slow, it wasn't a race. But like I said, I can see it out the window now, and it looks like it's been wheeling. It's covered in that much crap.
Did you have any fun at all, or was it just too nervous? Too nerve-wracking?
Don't tell anyone, but I was quite enjoying it.
See, I knew it was a bad question to ask, but just the feeling of being able to go.
Anytime you got to put it in a 4-wheel drive, hey, it's a Blake thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and to be able and know that you're going to get from point A to point B, or at least have some confidence that you're going to, and I'd be pretty busy patting myself on the back for doing this, having this silly hobby that allows me. It
did feel good because my partner was home and I hadn't heard from my mum-in-law by then, but it did feel good to help those elderly people, they had trouble getting in the car, the Jeep, and the water's pouring past their, your sills just under the wheels there. It felt good to get them in. They had trouble getting in and out, but, it's just cool to help people.
Exactly.
Because I had a vehicle like that.
And the woman that was there, being hysterical crying, I mean, she's going to remember you for the rest of your life, and she's going to remember that Jeep. She may not know what it is, but she'll remember it.
I just stopped in front of her, stopped the traffic, just put my headsets on, and we carried her over, mate. And then we moved to a car. Then I just jumped back in and carried on going. Stuff you go around me if you want. We can try it. It's just like, a lot of people helping people. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But see, this is just a good point to be made that it pays to know how to put your Jeep in a four-wheel drive gear just in case things like this happen, mate. You want to go outside and
Bear, we need a video or something from you showing us that because we want to know that you'll be safe in a situation like this. So we need a video or something, a certificate that's signed off by somebody that knows how to put a Jeep in a four-wheel drive, that you know how to do that. Can you work with us on that, Bear? I think Bear's thinking about it. The four-wheel drive lever, the one in the middle. It says
the one that looks like a T.
You pull it up. Well, anyway, we'll get back to that. Yeah, like I said, it has to. Maybe fun isn't the right word, but at least proud that you're able to be in that situation. It's great it's a great feeling to be able to help people out, especially whenever they're in such dire straits.
The money I've paid for it, or what it owes me now, is every cent's been, what I've put into it, every cent's just for the last 2 days, it's earned its keep kind of thing, if you get what I mean. Mm-hmm. It's, you kind of can think, well, yeah, that was worth doing that mod or whatever I did to it. Because I didn't struggle once. There was other cars down holes and not much mud, but they were struggling. Yeah, whereas I wasn't. It was great.
Those sinkholes were amazing. They weren't very big. They were just big enough to swallow up a truck.
Yeah, what probably happened there is the road's been unstable and he's driven and it's just collapsed. But people can get out there and put things up. So people were throwing, I don't know if you got your wheelie bins, we call them wheelie bins, where you put your rubbish into and they get collected.
Right.
I don't know if you call them. People were just doing that. Some places I'd been down and there was a big sinkhole and someone had just thrown an old lounge chair in there just so people could see it. Just this kind of thing, I should have actually got a photo of that, but I wasn't thinking. That's where I had to go around, and I was in going up on the footpaths and mud on people's lawns, and I was just getting there. May
I suggest a person, perhaps yourself, sitting there with a beer in their hands?
I would like to have beers, but I just want to keep a clear head at the moment.
Well, you don't have to drink it. It's just for the picture. It's just for effect.
I actually wouldn't mind, having a couple of beers and just switching off, but I'll keep him wits about me for a couple more days yet.
No, you're absolutely right. And I was going to ask you about this. There was the same gentleman that predicted the Quake. I think that was around this time, was it, or was it March that he was predicting it?
He was predicting one last weekend, and he's still with that March one, but that gets my partner so worked up. She reads that stuff in the paper and believes it. I think Scott or Jimbo, they might have put it right last night. They were quite angry when they seen that link. They kind of put it right on that one. She felt really good after that. She said, you can't predict it. It's like tomorrow's going to be, well, for me, it's going to be Friday, I think. It just can't be predicted. It can't be.
Right.
So she's feeling a bit happy. I still wouldn't be surprised if she disappears out of Christchurch for that weekend, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we never know when somebody comes up with some new way of doing something. We don't know for sure that they're going to be right. But I think in the interview that we did, I actually mentioned he's not a scientist. So
he's not. So he's a Neville nobody.
Yeah, it's somebody trying to throw some stuff out there that they may or may not be right. It doesn't mean they won't be. It just means that they're likely that they won't. Is there scientific merit to the prediction model that they're using? And
they've said from day one, from talking from experience, that you can expect big earthquakes or aftershocks. Well, this is a totally new earthquake because it's a totally different spot, but to expect big shakes up to a year afterwards.
Right. And the 7.1 is a huge quake.
Yeah, that was a big one. The other one was just a bit thinner to the ground. My partner just walked in. She just walked out again.
Do you need to go to her?
No, she come back in again. Are you right there?
Wayne's just talking to his wife, Bridget.
No, it's all right. She's just doing tea. She was looking for the telephone. She only just got home from doing a petrol run for my son's car.
Well, I was just going to say, where the hell has she been? There's quakes out there. She shouldn't be outside.
No. That's funny. It's in the little town up the road when you Google it, you see the big river. The wee township of Kaipoi, which got totally smashed in the first earthquake, is good as gold. It's up and running.
Well, that's great. I mean, I was kind of concerned about you being in such a ravaged area that you were going to be without food and all kinds of stuff. So it's actually very good for me to hear that it's very localized and you have other places that you can go. But Christchurch is the largest city in New Zealand, right?
No, second largest. Auckland's the largest. Auckland's got a population of 1.something million. Then it's Christchurch, and then it's Dunedin. I think we've got. I know Wellington might be after us. I think we got something like 400-something thousand live here.
Okay, well, good. That's actually better news because if the 400,000 are trying to find gas and food, and you're not the largest city, then there ought to be enough goods and services in the other cities so that there won't be a huge shortage. I mean, I know it's not going to be pretty, but it may not be devastating. So it's very very good to hear that you have places that you can go to get food and gas, and if for nothing else, just get out and go see something else, especially something that isn't broken, that gives you the hope that you're not living in the middle of a disaster area.
A lot of people are leaving. A lot of people are just gone. The worst thing is when it starts raining, there's going to be no people are still beginning to wonder. There's going to be no jobs. There's going to be no income for a lot of people soon. So that's working on a lot of people. I won't be working for a long time, I'd say, looking at it. My partner, Bridget, there's no way she says she's going back to work in a building in town. So that's another thing we're going to worry about in a couple of weeks. I know the government there will right. The government there will help, but that's on the back of people's minds as well. So it's a bit more stress, but I'm not worried about that at the moment. I'll worry about that later.
No, I understand. I mean, but you're in survival mode, and that's the main thing right now.
Yeah, we're warm, we're dry, our tummies are full. Yeah, it's just to make a saying. We're cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll continue to be that way. But like anybody that's works for a living, you want to be able to continue to make your own way. And
exactly,
and certainly that's going to be in the back of your mind.
But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
We will be fine like that. I just want to get out there and start helping as soon as we can.
Just looking here at the chat room to see if there was any questions or comments. Oh, by the way, Rainey, I do know how to put it in four-wheel drive. I was getting on Jones Road today, and it's a very slippery road when it's wet, and it was mildly wet, so I put it in four-wheel drive. I'm not sure if this is the one you guys are referring to for me to read, but Dalton says, "Hey, Tony, tell Wayne when he comes to the States, I'll show him how the four-wheel drive works."
I don't want to go shopping, beer.
Which means he'll say, "Wayne, is this it? Is this it? Don't tell anybody. Is this the lever?"
Yeah, I'll freak him out. The steering wheel, your steering wheel is on the wrong side.
And Rainey says we're way behind. I bet you the video that they're watching is way behind. Oh no, he's saying only one red light. Okay, so they're talking about something else.
There's a picture in that cluster of photos I linked up. There's actually a photo of a traffic light. That's quite funny. I had nothing to do with that, but I thought Rainey might get a wee chuckle about that when I see that one myself.
Well, guys, I don't know what it was that you're referring to for me to look up. I would assume that means look up in the chat. I don't see it. Maybe that was the one from Bear. But if you want, type it in again, and I'll try to read it. I see we've got a new viewer, Easy Over. Thanks for joining us here. If I can call you Easy.
Yeah, you got a nice Samurai that member. Yeah, a real cool truck.
Yeah.
The wee Sammy, the wee Zook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice seeing other builds. It's interesting to see how other vehicles are put together.
It's good when I see that kind of stuff because we got lots of those ones down here. And when I think he put the picture up of the old Cruiser, the FJ40 Toyota. And then we got lots of those modified down here, and it's really good to recognise some other trucks. See what other people think of them. I'm doing an update on the news now.
So how many shocks have you had today?
I've stopped counting them. We would have been, they'll give us a figure, it would have been probably about every half hour now still. We had heaps over during the night.
Then you never know. You never know if it's going to be an aftershock or another major earthquake.
They class them all as aftershocks. Some of them are got to be new earthquakes. There's got to be a new earthquake there because it's miles away from the epicenter of the first one. So hey, I don't know.
Amazing! It's just amazing. Maybe one of these days we'll understand how all this works, and we'll have predictions like we do with hurricanes.
Yeah, that would be good. It's just Mother Nature. When it's angry, you can't do much about it. But hang on and enjoy the ride, kind of thing almost.
Well, I know that I can speak for myself, and I think several members on XJ Talk, that if you want to sacrifice a virgin, we'll get together and buy Big Jim a ticket and send him. He claims that he's still a virgin, and I think that's good enough.
I find that hard to believe because, I'm not that way inclined, but he is a very attractive man.
Jim, did you pass out? You're being complimented here. Nothing. I got nothing.
It's I'm just reading the news as it's going past. There's 2,500 people leaving Christchurch each day or something like that. They're trying to get them out. I
don't doubt it. They gotta. There's lots of people without places to stay. They need to go someplace where they can stay. So I would
1,100 fence force.
I would assume the government is pretty active as far as taking care of the people there.
Yep, our Prime Minister, which he's the dude in charge, he is actually from Christchurch. So he's got a lot of feeling for our little city, which is kind of cool. He's down here. He's pretty cool. He's pretty incredible what he's doing. He's promising this, that, and the next thing, and he's not a bad sort of a man. You kind of believe him for a politician,
Right. Well, that's good.
He was he said it all on the September, and the stuff he was saying was beginning to happen. So you kind of put your faith in him, and hope he does it.
I just saw what I did. I'd scrolled up in chat, so I wasn't seeing the new messages.
80% of city has no mains water.
I'm sorry, say that again?
80% of the city has no water.
My goodness. 80% of the city has no water.
Yeah. We're very lucky out here. And they're just sending tankers around. Still got to boil water. I'm just reading what's going across my TV at the moment. There's no need to, people panic buying, and they're just saying there's no need to do that. The Littleton port's closed, so we may have trouble later on for certain stuff. But a lot of it will get roaded in because none of the roads coming north into Christchurch, they're good as gold. But the other side may be a bit dodgy.
Rainey says, tell Wayne him and his are in my thoughts.
Appreciate it, Rainey.
I'm not sure this is a helpful statement, but I'll read it anyway. Weldman says, drink more beer.
I will in a couple of days, I think. I'll go away somewhere and unwind. What I'd like to do is actually go get in my Jeep and go off a big track and take it out in the Jeep, but I kind of need it at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, go wheeling but hard out. That kind of relaxes me.
Well, all this off-road stuff that you've done has been a good teacher for this situation. Yeah,
I was actually surprised. Well, I'm not in a club. I know some clubs have offered help, but kind of surprised you just wait. They see, the cops or something, we're going to use that vehicle kind of thing, but no, they've got their ones like theirs anyway. We did offer, though, they did run out of ambulances, and they were pulling all the four-wheel drives they did find in town. I'd see them loading people into those. We ran out of ambulances when it first happened to ferry people.
Right.
Which is kind of, I suppose most places will. We're only a small town. The
ambulances weren't four-wheel drive, were they?
No, I think a lot of people got carried. Well, in town, the roads are busted up, but they haven't got that liquid. You say that word again, Tony.
Liquefaction?
Or the liquid?
Liquefaction?
That's the one. They haven't got that in the town.
So where's the hospital located? Are they having to take them out of Christchurch to?
That's right. The hospital's where the cathedral is. It's just down from there, but it didn't. It's been rebuilt and earthquake proof numerous times, and that stood up well. And they've flown. A lot of people have been flown straight to other cities, like the North Island, to Wellington, or the Nelsons, or just they've been flown out patients. So the hospital's still there. They can still cope. They reckon they're coping quite well. They've got the Burnham military camp. This is about 30-40 k's out of Christchurch. That's where they set up the temporary morgue. So the Army's dealing with that side of it.
So were there a lot of head injuries from falling debris, or?
There's a lot of, I was listening to the guys, a lot of crush injuries, a lot of broken bones,
right.
A lot of back injuries, and there's been, I think, 3 amputations on site to get people out of there, the crushed legs or the whatever they were stuck by.
Sure.
Yeah, they're doing a pretty good job. I take my hats off to them. Like, our fire brigade out, we're all by us, they're voluntary. My stepson Jordan, his mate's dad, he's in there now. he needs helping with the body recovery. But he's been in the voluntary fire brigade. I take my hats off to these guys, you know.
Oh man, that's just got to be a horrible thing to go through.
He's going to be stressed. You know, we'll sit down one day and get him round. We'll have a barbecue and a beer, and you know, we'll do the bloke thing and unwind that way.
Yeah, that's going to take a long time to get over.
Yeah,
it's got to be done, and you have to celebrate those times.
The wee milestones, yeah. It's going to be a long one. This one, big one. Recovery.
So sad, and it's what's the death toll now? 76, or is it higher than
76? That? Yeah, that's 76 confirmed. They have got more bodies, but they're not confirming the numbers until they've been identified for some reason. That's cool.
That's interesting. I don't know why that would be, but whatever.
Like I said, I was pretty sure there's a lot of international people, tourists and whatnot, caught in there because it was a central city, and we get a lot of tourists into town. Into the part was devastated, a lunchtime period, and there would have been a lot of tourists in there, you know, taking their photos of the big church, and that's real kind of older buildings and statues, and that's where they go to, you know, or that's where they actually stay as well. Motels, hotels get dropped in, so there would have been a lot wandering around, taking their photos and just enjoying the day.
I got you. So the 76 that they've confirmed are people that they can account for as either being New Zealanders or tourists, and they don't want to add to the count because, you know, who knows what they are, right?
Yeah, to the next of kin. And some of them, they're going to have to be like dental records because some of the buildings were burning and the crushed, you know, concrete and bodies just don't really mix, do they, and steel?
No, and there's going to be people that, just like happened in the 9/11 when the Twin Towers went down, there's going to be people that are identified from fragments.
We got one of the guys who are involved in your 9/11 here helping as well, so hey, it's good. Experts helping and a bad thing.
Weldman says, well, if he needs stuff, Tony, tell him we can ship him stuff. And then
I need. Wait.
And then he follows up with, besides XJ parts.
He knows me, doesn't he? You fellas know me.
I knew where you were going.
Damn. Thanks anyway.
Hey man, you know, Wayne's been through a lot. We can't send him a Jeep part.
That's all good. I'm going to have to jump off, Tony. I'm going to go see if I can help out with dinner and stuff, and round up some kids by the looks of it out there.
No problem. I think Rainey was wanting to know what your Skype name was, and I told him and everybody else that was in the chat room. So you may be getting some Skype calls. I've put it on the laptop now. So if I don't answer, I'll get back to you. Or I will take my time talking. Okay, so
yeah, it just different times I've got to go and spend some time with.
No, of course, no, you can't just enjoy yourself. You need to go be depressed with everybody else.
Exactly, and I got the laptop, but if the boy want the laptop back, I lose it. The other one's in the main room.
Wayne, thank you very much for calling. It's wonderful hearing you, and it's good to hear you laugh. I needed this. I think I read your post where sometimes it's better to switch off and yak, and yeah, thank you guys. Honestly, mate, thank you. It's good to laugh again, actually. Well, there's going to be lots of times to laugh in the future, and everything's going to be fine. I mean, look at all the things that you have. I mean, the earth shook, and buildings crumbled, and you still have water and power and internet. My God, you've got internet. You're talking to people halfway across the world, so it's going to be fine.
We're very lucky out here. Now, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. All the comments and everything you've been posting. I've been showing my partner, Bridget, and like I said earlier, you've really helped her out too. It was really cool.
Well, thank you very much, Wayne, and you guys be safe, and stay in touch with us.
We will do, mate. I'll be on chat, popping in every now and again just to say I'm okay.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you all later.
And there you had it. There is a impromptu live interview with Wayne after the devastating earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand. I personally was very happy to see that he was calling in because, like I said, the interview that I have is a good one, but everybody right now wants to know how he's doing, how his family's doing, how the city of Christchurch is doing. And we were able to find out tonight, and we were very, very fortunate to be able to have Wayne call in. I mean, with all that's going on over there, his dedication to XJ Talk and calling into this show. I mean, I made it very clear to him that it was not necessary, and please don't feel like it's required for you to be here after the interview to take questions. I mean, there's just too much going on, but I'm very happy that he called, and I'm even more happier to hear that we made his night a little better. And he'll take that joy that he has now from talking to us and shooting the shit with us here for the last several minutes. He'll take that joy into the next room, and he'll share it with those 10 people that are staying at his house, and maybe they'll feel a little better. So all you guys should feel really good about all that you've been doing to help Wayne, which is just be his friend, just talk with him on chat, just being here tonight and interacting with him. And yeah, feel really good about that. Wildman says, I'm the man. Well, you're one of them. Well, guys, the show ran a little long. I didn't want to end Wayne's enjoyment that he was having, so I was just going to go as long as he wanted to. And really glad that he was able to call in and spend a little time with us tonight. So thank you very much for being here on the show and experiencing this disaster in New Zealand with Wayne, sharing a little bit of it. And I'll catch you on the site, which is xjtalk.com. This is Jeep Cherokee xjtalk.com show. It's getting so long that I may forget what I'm saying while I'm saying it. But it helps on the searches to use all those words to get people in and interested in seeing and listening to the show. Everybody have a very good night, and we'll see you on the site.